I just want to welcome everybody and we'll get started now. My name is Maureen Mulhern. I'm the Director of Career Development. I didn't get a chance to introduce you all, but my colleague Shannon Hargrove, who's the Director of Experiential Learning, is also on the meeting. So we want to welcome you today to Stack Your Future Career Week. We're so happy to have the New York State Police with us. And before I introduce them, I did want to mention to you that you should all have your microphones muted and just keep them muted. At the end, we'll do a Q&A and you can unmute, or as we go along, if you want to put questions in the chat, go ahead and do that. We are recording this session, just so you're all aware. And with that said, I do want to introduce you to Trooper Robert Saracelli, and he also has Brianna Giganti with him in the background, and I will turn it over to you.
Well, welcome. I just wanted, obviously, I was already introduced. My name is Rob Saracelli. I've been with the State Police for almost 19 years now. I've had a very good career so far, and as the recruiter here in Troop F, we're trying to get the word out to those individuals who are pursuing a law enforcement career, or maybe even ones who've never even thought about a law enforcement career. We're trying to get the word out that we are having an exam coming up in January. So if this is something that you've thought about, this is your opportunity. If this is something that you've never thought about, this might be something you can look into. Like I said, we do have an exam coming up. It's going to be a computer-based test. Now, just because it's on a computer doesn't mean that it's online. So you would have to go to a computer testing center to take the exam. And as soon as you sign up, you get to be able to pick and choose whatever date that you'd like to take this exam, from January 3rd all the way until May 1st. So it's a very, it's the first time we've actually done this, whereas you don't have a specific day to actually go and take the exam. It's going to be any day that's convenient for you is when you can actually sit down and take the exam within that 5-month time frame. You can take it nights, you can take it weekends, you can take it anytime during the week if you want. But it's something that it's very flexible for you to take it on your schedule whenever you can. So I would like to introduce my partner here. This is Brianna. Brianna is my assistant, and she also will be able to help answer any of the questions that you may have about recruiting, about how to apply, what the qualifications are, and what the selection process is, as well as what it's like going through the academy before you actually set foot out the door as a trooper. So if by any means, if anyone has questions, that's something that we'll be able to help you out with. For the time being right now, I can leave it open for any questions and answers that you have, how to apply. That's probably going to be one of the biggest things, and I can give you the website and instructions on how to apply on that as well. So I'll throw that back to Maureen here and see where we'd like to go with this from here.
So I guess the first question I would have is, at what point, so we have our undergraduates here, at what point should they be thinking about, with the intention that they're going to complete their bachelor's, at what point should they be thinking about taking this exam if they want to start in hopes of starting soon after they graduate? Should they do the exam early, like sophomore, junior year? Should they wait till their senior year? Like, when's the best time for them to be thinking about taking this exam?
Well, the best time is now. I'm gonna go straight forward and just say yes. The best time is now, because the time that the test comes up is only periodical. So it used to be only every 4 years. However, now we fast forwarded a little bit better because it's going to be computer based. We'll be able to administer the exam every 2 years. So they only need to be of age 20 to take the exam. So obviously, the earlier the better. The earlier that they get on that exam list, the better their chances of getting hired. Also, the better their chances are of actually picking the date and time that they want to be able to take the exam. So they can prepare themselves today by applying early and also requesting study materials when they do apply. So yeah, I'd have to say today is probably the best time to do it. The enrollment is going to be open between now and April 10th. April 10th is going to be the last filing date to apply for this year's exam. So we're giving it in 2022. The next exam will be 2024. So even if you're in college, you still have a little bit of time, but you always want to be able to have those opportunities when you can. So take them as often as you can until you get, until you get selected. So yes, by all means, apply as early as you possibly can.
And where are these testing centers located? Like,
There's,
I'm sure you have plenty, but.
believe it or not, there's several of them. They're located throughout the world. So what the testing center is, we've linked up with a testing facility called Pearson View. It's spelled Pearson, Pearson, and then View is spelled VUE. And those, if anyone wanted to Google Pearson View test centers, it'll give you a list of what's available and what's around. So when you sign up to take the exam, you're going to go to a Pearson View test center that you select. And then, because once you apply, they'll give you a list of places where you can take the exam. So you select whichever one that has a time frame that you would like, and you will go to that test site at the date and time that you want. But you don't have to be in New York to take this either. You could be in California, you could be in Ohio, you could be, over, if you're deployed in the military, you could be in Japan at a military base. Anywhere that a Pearson View test center is, that's where you can sign up. This is where you can take the exam from. Okay, so it's very, very flexible.
That's great. And I'm just curious, not being of this background, like what types of questions they ask? Is it, I mean, like when I'm thinking about how would I study for such an exam, like what are they asking math questions, or is it all like related to police scenarios? Or
a lot of it is comprehensive. So they will give you, say, it would be more like they give you a paragraph to read, and you would have to answer questions relating to the paragraph and what you just read and how well you interpret that paragraph. There is math on there, but it is extremely, extremely basic. When I say basic, I mean like add, subtract, multiply, divide. They're not going to ask you any calculus questions or geometry questions, anything like that. And then there's a little bit of memorization involved in that as well. So the memorization part of it would be that they would give you, say, like just a photograph of a scene, some kind of a police scene, whether it be an accident scene, crime scene, something along those lines, and it will have a lot of detail in that, in that accident, in that police scene. And what they'll do is they'll let you study the picture for about 5 minutes. And then they take the picture away, and then you have to answer questions relating to what you just saw and how much detail that you remember. So things along those lines.
That's interesting. Okay. So Brianna, would you be willing to talk to the students about your experience going through the academy? I'm guessing, so first you have to pass the exam and then you move into the academy. And like, how long after you finish the exam do you start in the academy? How does that all work?
It honestly depends. My experience, I wound up taking a test and it probably took me about 1.5 years. So it was a process from taking the exam. You have to take a psychological test. There's also a physical test and everything also. So it's our Cooper standard. So it's like you have to do a round of push-ups, sit-ups, a 1.5 mile run. And then you go through a background investigation with one of our investigators. So they pull through everything in your life between social media, your financial, college credits, references, the whole bunch of stuff that they wind up going in detail with. And then after all that is all said and done, then you wind up going into the academy. So it's a little bit of a process behind it.
And what types of things do you do once you get into the academy?
Biggest
Well,
yeah, yes, it all depends. I mean, between Rob has 19 years on, I have about 7. So there's a little bit of difference in age between the two of us. When I went through, it's a big base of academics. You go through, the New York State penal law, the criminal procedure law, vehicle and traffic law, all that types of stuff. You go through defensive tactics, emergency vehicle operation, firearms, a lot of PT. PT is physical training. So all day, every day, between working out, a bunch of burpees and push-ups, and, it's kind of like it's a paramilitary organization that we have.
it's very physically demanding,
Yes.
as well as academically demanding. So I don't know if the physical demands have lessened up since I came through. I went through, was extremely grueling. but it was also very old school back then. And now it's a little bit more focused towards adult-based learning. So they would give you more like real life situations and what would you do in this situation, and they kind of send you through pretty much like scenarios, like real life scenarios. And when you go through the scenarios, they want to see like how you react to it, and they critique you on what you can do, should have done. So they'll teach you like a block of instructions, like, you know, throughout the week on how to handle certain, possibly, you know, certain types of situations, whether it's, you know, just something as a simple, say, a simple trespassing complaint, all the way up to, you know, an armed robbery, you know, depending on what level you're at as far as your academics, what they've taught you so far. So it's structured. It's kind of like building a house. They start with, you know, with basic foundation, and then they build you up and build you up and build you up until they can figure out like how well you can conduct yourself in a police environment. But there's also a lot of physical training involved in that as well. So there's a lot of time spent in the gym. There's a lot of time running. If you're not a runner, now is probably a good time to get running. Let's put it this way, to get into the police academy, you kind of better be in shape, because we're not going to get you into shape. If you are looking to have somebody get you into shape, well, that's more for the military. The military will get you into shape, but, you know, we are not going to get you into shape. There's a test that you have to take after the written exam. If you pass the written exam, the next step will be a physical fitness exam, and that eliminates a lot of people, because they have to be able to fit in, you know, the certain physical fitness norms that are set up by what she was saying before, was the Cooper standards. If anyone wants to, you can Google the Cooper physical fitness standards at your leisure, and you can see what the standards actually are as far as the run times for a 1.5 mile run, sit-ups, push-ups. We want you at the 50th percentile to take your physical fitness exam, and by the time you graduate, you should be at the 70th percentile or above. So that's kind of like, while you're there, we will condition you a little more. But we want you to be at least a certain level of physical fitness before you go into the academy. So it's very rigorous, it's very demanding, but it's also very regimented. It's regimented very much like the military is. It's structured very much the same. You'll march everywhere you go. You'll be in single file formation in a lot of places. Everything is yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Things along those lines. You got to make sure you stay focused at all times on certain things. So if anyone ever wanted to see what like military life is like, well, we got you for 6 months. We're going to kind of gear you into that.
Stay away academy too.
Yeah, it's also a resident police academy. So you're going to be living there for 6 months. Okay, you do get to come home on the weekends. However, you get about a day and a half at home. So they'll cut you loose on Friday nights when they're done with you, roughly around 4 or 5 o'clock. You know, pretty much, like I said, pretty much when they're done with you for the day, they will dismiss you. You drive home. You have about Friday night and Saturday to visit your family, do some laundry, do a little bit of studying. You're going to have to do some studying when you're home on the weekends. Pack up your stuff on Sunday and head right back, because you got to make sure you're there before 8 o'clock at night on Sunday night. So you get it, like I said, you get about a day and a half off for 6 months. So that's something that most people have to consider. Also, they're not used to that. You would be living with other people that you've never lived or roomed with before. It's kind of like, in a sense, going off to college in a dormitory style setting. But you know, you're going to be with people that you never met. You know, maybe you get along with them, maybe you don't. But you all have to learn to get along this way, because we're all kind of on the same team here. So there's a little bit of camaraderie building that you have to kind of like get over and realize that you're part of a bigger picture, as part of a big team. So that's something that, you know, folks have to consider as well when they go to the academy. So, anything else?
I mean, where is this academy located? Is it just one location, or are there several locations?
Yep, one academy, and it's in Albany. So yes, you would report to Albany, and you'd be staying there for those 6 months that during your training time.
Okay. And so I don't know if I didn't understand, or maybe you guys didn't mention it, but do you get to choose? So once you pass the exam, do you get to choose when you're going to enter the academy, or do you just get told you're coming in with this class?
You pretty much get told. So after you pass the exam, you're put in a rank order on the list, okay? Because you're going to have any normal given year, you have between 25 to 30,000 people sign up to take the exam. And depending on how well you score on this exam, it depends on where you are on the rank order in the list. Obviously, the highest score is the top, and it goes all the way down from there. So once they reach your number, once they come down to your number, then they're going to send you a letter. Usually it's by regular mail. I don't know if they have graduated to email yet, but I think it's pretty much regular snail mail through the post office. And they'll tell you when to report for your next step in the process. Like I said, the next step is usually after you pass the written exam is the physical fitness test. So as long as you pass the physical fitness test, then you'll have a background check done. They'll do a polygraph exam on you. After your polygraph exam, you'll have a psychological test. After the psychological, you have a medical screening. And then after that, they'll give you a conditional offer of employment. And that will tell you when the day the academy starts. And this is the day that you would need to report because we've selected you for the next, for academy training. So, but that whole process, like I said, can take anywhere from about 8 months to about, a year and a half before the first recruits actually walk through the academy off of that list. Lightning speed is the fastest I've ever seen is 8 months. And that's from someone who scored 100 on the exam and passed everything all the way down. So
Now, if they're currently in school, so let's say they're 20 years old, and they score really well and get called, in theory, right away, do they make an exception for people who want to continue and complete through graduation? Will they wait for them to graduate before they tell them they have to start doing all these steps?
Sort of. Yes, you would have to, if they give you a conditional offer of employment and you don't have, well, first of all, I would hope that they would have at least the 60 college credits by that point. You don't need a degree, you just need 60 college credits. So if they don't have their 60 college credits by the time the academy starts, they can put their name on what's called a deferment list. They would have to actually physically write a letter, like an actual handwritten letter or typed letter, and that needs to be mailed up to Albany asking for a deferment, which basically means that I'm not ready to take the position at the moment. I need to get my life in order, and then I can take it the next time it comes around. So yes, they can ask for a deferment. If they finally become ready within the next year or two, then they can actually be put back on the eligible list for appointment, but they would have to do the same thing, but in reverse order. They would have to send another letter up to Albany saying they want to request to come out of deferment, and then they can actually be put back on the list, and they'll continue the selection process from there. So they do have a few options if they're not ready at the time. If they did score really, really well and they're just not ready, they do have a little bit of a few options.
Okay, that's good to know. Just for a moment, I want to pause, and I know we have a class here, or for any students who are logged in on their own. If you're in the classroom, you can ask your teacher. Well, I think it's only Professor Pomisel, that class that's in this. You can certainly ask if he could put something in the chat if you have a question, or unmute and we can try to hear you. And same for any of the students. Just pop any questions in the chat as we're going along. So while we're waiting for that, I did want to ask too, you mentioned, Brianna, that they check your social media, and that's something that we're talking with the students frequently about. I don't know whether you have seen some of the social media things that have posts or whatever they found that have made them lose this opportunity, or I don't know, I guess tips that you might want to share with the students in terms of things they need to be careful with and things that could come back to haunt them. I don't know. Do you have any advice there?
I would say to anybody that's looking into a career as such, limit what you post on social media. They literally go through everything. It's not like you pick a couple pictures and you say, here, this is what I have. They literally take your phone and they say, go to your Instagram, go to your Facebook, go to your whatever it is, and they go through it. with a fine tooth comb. So
Wow.
limit what you put on social media as far as opinions and, you know, I would say like family stuff, you know, put that stuff up, but anything like in regards to, just keep away from it.
Wow.
Be extremely, extremely careful as to what you post on social media. Okay.
Doesn't go away.
It doesn't.
Don't find it.
Even if it's deleted, then you think it disappeared. We have ways to find things like that.
Computer crime guys.
We have very, very tech savvy computer crimes analysts back here, and they will find whatever you deleted. Okay. Be very, very mindful of that. So if anything that you may feel is offensive to somebody else, that may be racist, you know, slanderous, anything like that, sexist, you have to be extremely, extremely careful with what you post. They will leave no stone unturned to investigate you. Okay. And if they find something, the other thing I always have to stress too is that if they find something, you better be truthful about it. Because if you lie about it, first of all, the reason why they ask a question is because they already know the answer. Okay. They want to see if you're actually going to tell them what they're looking for and be truthful about it. Integrity is huge on this job. If you lie, they're going to get rid of you. We've actually had candidates that were here who actually worked for the state police and lied about things on the applicant. They were in a civilian capacity. They actually lied on a few things on their application, and they got rid of them. They thought they were a shoo-in because they were already state police employees. They thought they were going to be troopers. Well, they found out that they were lying about a few things, and they booted them. Sorry, thanks for playing. You know, try another time. So yes, be extremely, extremely careful what you post on social media, or anywhere else for that matter.
When in doubt, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Or don't
Go
post
through the
it.
process.
Or don't
just
post.
anything.
Yeah.
Don't post this.
I would
Okay.
think even comments that you make on other people's posts that
Oh,
are
they are.
controversial could
Yep,
be.
can be.
Yeah.
So be extremely careful. We've had troopers who are already troopers got into a lot of trouble with posting comments and stuff on social media. Internal affairs gets involved in it, and some guys have been fired, some guys have been disciplined. Depends on the level of what it is. So just be extremely, extremely careful. Okay, that's about all I can say to beat that up. But yeah, that's kind of where where we're at today. When I first came on the job, we didn't have social media, so it was things that we may have done in high school and stuff like that may have been a little bit more hidden because nobody knew about it. There was no record, no evidence of anything. Today, there's a record of everything today.
Pictures, videos.
Yes, everything is all there. When I came on, you had actual still photos in an album somewhere, and if you wanted to throw them out, you threw them out. That was it. Now there's a digital thumbprint, fingerprint. There's a digital thumbprint everywhere now. So just be careful. Okay. So just if this is the line of work that you want to go into, by all means, definitely start thinking about it. Also think about the friends that you hang out with as well, because just because you're straight and narrow doesn't mean that they are as well. And if you're found associating with someone who's not, well, guess what? You're going to be guilty by association, until they investigate a little further. But they will talk to friends, they will talk to relatives, they will talk to coworkers,
Neighbors.
they will talk to neighbors, they will talk to past relationships. So again, be extremely careful as to what you do and how you behave. Okay, so that's pretty much what I can say about social media at this point.
No, that was a lot of good information, not just for this, but in general. But I know I recall a student here actually, I think a few students who have had to come back and get something cleared through residence life. So I think, again, they're digging on, did you have any situations when you lived on campus that you were involved in? I'm guessing, I don't know if that was the New York State Police or another group, but I'm guessing that's part of it. When you're telling us that they check with neighbors, they check with friends, it sounds like they're very thorough.
Yeah, like I said, they will leave no stone unturned.
Mhm.
They will find. They go back down as far as not elementary school. What's the next one? Middle school? Or what do they call that now? It used to be junior high when I was a kid, but now I think it's called middle school.
Mhm.
Middle school, so they will go down to like around 6th grade, 7th grade, somewhere around there, because they'll check your school records. They'll check to see, if you were a kid who was always in suspension,
Detention.
detention, anything like that, fights in school, were you a troubled kid, things along those lines. And they'll go from around 6th grade on up. They'll check high school, they'll check college, obviously. They'll check your past employers, things along those lines. Were you late for jobs? Were you fired? What happened? Things along those lines. So again, just be extremely careful, before you apply for this.
Yeah, and that's one thing. I mean, I think I know the answer to this, but if there was a small incident in middle school or high school, is there any way for a student to redeem themselves? I mean, I know you said be truthful. And if it, I guess that's the best they could do is be truthful about it, maybe talk about what they learned from it. And I don't know, do they even take that kind of thing into consideration, or I guess it's
They will,
case by
because
case?
it's like when you're a kid, it's like you're still developing. So yes, they'll take that into consideration. But if you're, 12 and 13 years old and, and 11 years old, and you're having a lot of disciplinary problems at home, you're having disciplinary problems in school, you're not getting along well, you're causing a real problem. Maybe it's something that you could have been arrested for, but because you're a minor, they're not going to arrest you for it. They're going to look into that. But if it was something that happened, a little bit, and you kind of straightened yourself out and went on the straight and narrow path after that, by all means, yes, they do take that into consideration, because they realize that, you are a child that's developing, and you're trying to find your path in life. And you know what? Not everyone makes a good decision when you're a child. You do the best you can with the way you're raised. But as long as you can realize that and you focus and you move on and straighten yourself out, by all means, they definitely take that into consideration. So don't knock yourselves out for that if you had a troubled childhood. But it depends on the level, like how bad it was. If you were someone who was like the Columbine kids, if they survived and they applied, yeah, that would be a red flag. Yeah, no. That would be something definitely not. No matter what age you are and something like that. But, just minor trouble, things like that, we can work with you.
And just be honest. Yeah.
Be totally
Now
honest.
is
Maureen,
there?
we have a couple questions in the
We
chat.
do.
Yes.
Okay.
So one student, Sarah, she's an economics and accounting minor and an economics major. Finance major with an economics and accounting minor. And
Okay.
she's interested in getting involved with law enforcement, but her question is, are there opportunities to get involved more so in the financial aspect of the state police or law enforcement more broadly?
There is, but it's in a civilian capacity. It's not in a police capacity. So we do have financial positions. We have principal clerks. We have financial clerks. Somebody's got to sign our paychecks. So yes, absolutely. There are positions available throughout the state with that. But like I said, it's not in a police officer capacity. So she wouldn't be a sworn member of the state police.
Check the website too.
Yes, if she was to go onto a website called, it stands for New York State Civil Service. It's called cs.ny.gov. So CS, like Charlie Sam, .ny.gov. That will give you the list of the civil service exams in the state of New York, and they do come up periodically. There's also, if she was to Google New York State civil service exams, I think Indeed, there's another website. It's a job finding website. That one there will also pull up a lot of the New York State civil service exams as well, something like that. But yeah, my thing is like, I always like to encourage those to try to get something other than a criminal justice degree if you're going to go into law enforcement, because essentially this is a 20-year career. So if you potentially was to get on this job, and this has happened, whereas you get hired at age 21, 20 to take the exam, 21 to get hired. If you get hired at age 21, you could potentially leave this job with a full retirement at age 41. So from 41 on, what are you going to do with your career? What are you going to do with your life? So if you had something as a financial degree or an accounting degree or something like that, well, now you can retire from the state police. You can go on to become some kind of an accountant or something along those lines after you turn 41 or after you leave this job. And now you'll have a second career that you can start as well as collect your pension at the same time, because you're going to collect your pension the day you retire. Well, all right, fast forward. You have to wait a month after you retire, but there's a lag period. But theoretically, as soon as you retire, you're going to be collecting your pension. Okay, so you can have a second job attached to your pension as well. So I always encourage something else other than criminal justice.
Thank you.
We do have another question in the chat that says, how do you become a detective investigator? Would that be would that be part of your area, or is that separate?
Absolutely. So what happens is for us, we call them investigators. However, other agencies call them detectives. Tomato, tomato. It's the same job. It's the same. They just put a different fancy title on it because we're the state police. But what you would do is everyone has to start out as a level of trooper. Okay, so once you do at least 2 years as a trooper, if you have any type of a degree, bachelor's degree, or master's degree in anything along those lines, that will help you get that position a little bit faster. But typically between 2 and 4 years after you do your time as a trooper, you would apply for a position of investigator if you want to go that route. And they interview you for it, and they want to see like what your record was as a trooper, like how well you did as a trooper. How many arrests did you make? How many investigations did you solve? How many like burglaries did you come across and solve that? How many drug collars did you make? How many drug arrests did you make? Basically it's kind of almost like a resume. They call it an abstract, and everything that you've done as a trooper comes into play. So the better you look as a trooper, the better it's going to look for you as an investigator to get the position as investigator. So they always want to make sure that, you don't kind of like slack off and just really don't do much as a trooper. They want to see that you're active. If you're an active person, you have better chances of getting promoted to the rank of investigator. So, but everything has to start out as everyone has to start out as a trooper first.
Great, thank you. That was from the class that's in attendance. And I guess we're getting to that half hour mark. So I don't know if anybody, did you have another question, Jen? Okay.
There's one more in here. Our final question. So the question is from Daniela. What happens if you pass the exam, then fail the physical exam? Do you have to start over with the written exam, or
no, they'll do another
physical again? How does it work?
Yep, they'll give you another opportunity to come back. It'll probably be in around the next 6 months. So if you fail it the first time, they'll give you another chance at it the next 6 months. Okay, if you can't pass it in 6 months, then you're done. So, but you do have another opportunity for it. But my thing is like, I try not to look at, the makeup for it. I'm trying to look at as, I want to pass this. So if this is what you really are thinking about doing, like Brianna said, you want to start running and getting yourself into shape now, before you even take the exam. And keep yourself in shape, keep yourself in shape, go out there and run. I'm not saying you have to kill yourself at the gym every day, but at least be, active and able to kind of fit into those Cooper standards that I was telling you about earlier. As long as you can run that 1.5 miles in 12 minutes and change for what it is for your age group, and do the amount of push-ups and sit-ups, you'll be fine. You'll be perfectly fine. Keep yourself active. That's one of the key factors. Just keep yourself active. Okay, and make sure. The other thing I also like to stress as well is like don't take the written exam just to pass it. Okay, I want you to take this written exam to ace it. And the reason why I say that is because the amount of people that take this exam, you could have a really, really great score. You could have a 94 or 93 or somewhere around those. And if there's that many people that scored better than you, you're going to be sitting on that list for a long time if you get called at all. Okay. So some people will say, well, I had a 91 on the exam and I never got called. Well, how many more people who took that exam scored better than you? Okay. And they got called. And you know what? There's only so many people we can take off the list. So if there's that many more people that scored that much higher than you, they're going to get called before you are, and you may never get called. So don't take the exam just to pass it. Take the exam to ace it. And like I said, when you apply for the exam, you can request study materials. They will give you study materials for the exam about 1.5 months to 2 months before you take the exam. And they're practice exams, they're practice questions, and there's study guides on what to expect. So there's no reason why you can't take that and apply that and try to make sure you ace this exam. Okay?
I think, is that it, Shannon, for chat questions?
Yes,
Okay.
those are the questions. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Well, this was great. We really appreciated that you took the time out of your schedule to do this for our students. And I'm wondering if the students have any further questions, are they able to reach out to you or somebody else as a resource?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to give you this real quick here. Okay. One thing they can do, they can go into this website here. It's called joinstatepolice.ny.gov. Okay, and if they go onto that website, they can actually apply right on this website today if they'd like to. They can also get in touch with me, okay, if they have any further questions. On this website, they have lists, it'll say find a recruiter is one of the tabs. My information is right here. I'm the Troop F recruiter, okay, if you can see this right here, okay, and it'll say right on there in Crystal Run Road is where I'm located, but there's also an email address on there. It's called frecruit@troopers.ny.gov. Okay, it stands for Troop F Recruit at troopers.ny.gov. If they go onto that email address or onto that website, they can get in contact with me. It'll have my desk phone number on there as well as the email address. They can contact me at any time and leave me a good time to call you back if they're not lucky enough to catch me at the desk. And I will be more than happy to answer any and all questions that they may have relating to this.
That's great. I'm sure the students appreciate that. So thank you so much for your time. It was so nice to meet both of you. I know I've met you before, Trooper Saracelli, but
Yep,
Brianna, yeah, it was great to meet you, Brianna, and thank you both. Yeah, thank you both for sharing all that information. We have a very high interest level at the college for this field. So
That is great.
Yeah.
I'm very happy, and we're very gracious we were able to have this opportunity as well. And we look forward to doing this again. Hopefully we can do this in person sometime again, once things kind of turn back to normal.
Yes.
But this is a great second for right now, and I really, really do appreciate your time.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you
And
so much.
students, reach out to me if you need any further information. But thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your week and take care.
Awesome. Thank
Have a good
you.
one.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.